Hello, Homer Glen. My name is Dan Kenney, and I am a Homer Glen resident and homeowner. I am also a member of the Homer Glen Community and Economic Development Committee and a member of the Homer Glen Parks and Recreation Committee. I am joined today by Homer Glen mayoral candidate Christina Neitzke-Troike. Christina, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you, and thank you for announcing my name properly. I appreciate that.
No problem. I worked on that. Before we get started, I wanted to let our residents know what the purpose of this interview is. I have a set list of questions here that I will be asking you today. I'll be asking these same questions of your opponent. I will not be asking any follow-up questions. We're not going to be talking about the other candidates in the race, and we are not going to be discussing any divisive or hot-button issues in this interview. This is simply an opportunity for the residents to get to know you a little bit better. And so we're only going to be talking about you. How does that sound?
Okay. That's great. Even though I don't like talking about myself.
Perfect. All right, let's get started. Here's the first question. Question number one, what originally brought you to Homer Glen and how long have you been here?
My parents brought me here originally in 1989. I moved here from Elsip, Illinois, and I've been here ever since.
All right.
Sorry if you hear the dog in the background.
Oh, okay. I get it. What do you love about Homer Glen?
Everything. I've loved this town since I was, like I said, when I moved here when I was 9. I loved everything about it. I remember the gravel roads and when we had a Whitey's hot dog stand, and I still remember when we took out the last flashing lights. I like to see where we're going. I just love the neighborly feel, the community feel. I love everything that our community has done with events, bringing each other together, the ability awareness committee that just came about. There's a lot that I really love about Homer Glen.
Awesome. Now,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's a little delay, I think, but
okay.
I love the roads, the open space, the winding roads, the rural feel, the charm, the rustic charm. It's unique. It's different than Orland. It's different than New Lenox. We're our own unique town.
Cool. If there was one thing you could change about Homer Glen, what would that be?
The civility that we are currently missing in our town. Up until a few years ago, everything I just named in the last question is what I really love, but what I really miss is in the last couple of years, you can see a big divide amongst a lot of neighbors right now. And it's not if you're a D or if you're an R or if you're an independent, it's more just, we're missing some balance there where everybody is, it almost seems on more one side or the other. And I really just want to bring everyone back together.
Okay. If you met someone who was not from this area and who knew nothing about our village or our community, how would you describe the character and identity of Homer Glen to that person?
The first thing I would say is it's open. It's not your cluster. It's not your high pace. It's more, like I said earlier, it's that rustic, charmy feel. I mean, we're not that far from the city of Chicago where everything's bumping and moving so fast. And out here, we're kind of more mild pace. And you're not right on top of each other with your neighbors. And I want to keep it that way. There's really not too much congestion. Like in the city, you could smell the pollution there. Here, it's beautiful. You see the stars. You can go outside and feel safe. We're a very safe community for people to live in, and it's a great town to raise your family. It's a great town to retire in. There's a lot to do for people that are asking about Homer or want to move into Homer.
All right, here's the big question. Why do you want to be mayor of Homer Glen?
You know, I get this question quite a bit. I grew up here. Like I said earlier, I remember winding road or the gravel roads. I remember, like I said, the Whitey's hot dog stand, and when we had a little grocery store, and I've seen it come to where it is today. I liked the path we were taking to get where we are. I just feel as if over the last couple of years, we kind of lost our way a little bit. And I want my kids, who I raise here now, I want my kids to grow up the way I did, where it was very neighborly. I want to bring that back. I want to stay with the focus that our founding fathers found, Homer Glen. I want that vision to be sought out. I don't want to bring any, high density or any of that sort of stuff to the village. I want to keep it the way it was originally intended to be.
What uniquely qualifies you for this position?
I have a lot of history in Homer Glen. I was a township trustee for 6 years, a village trustee for 4, and currently the village clerk for 4 years. I have managed Kono's corn maze for the last 10 years. I brought that from a lot of people not even knowing Kono's corn maze ever existed, and I took it into something very tiny and made it into something big. Not that I want to make the village of Homer Glen into anything really large, but the way I operate the business over there is for every X amount of dollars Mr. Kono makes, he has to give back X amount of dollars back to the community. I'm a big community person. There's a lot of residents that reach out if they have a fundraiser or an event or something that they want people to attend to. I usually get the message to say, hey, can you please share this? And I always do. And I get people involved, and I want to continue to keep people involved in the community. I think I have the background to do that. I want people to feel empowered when they come into Homer Glen or want to take part in an event. So being mayor, what a lot of people miss is that the mayor is more. The mayor doesn't really have that much power. The mayor is more or less the orchestrator of the band. They kind of sit up there and watch the trustees and help and guide the trustees and guide the village into the right direction. And I think I have a proven history of my dedication to this town.
Okay. What do you think is the number one concern of Homer Glen residents right now? And what would you do to address that concern?
Well, there's a couple of different concerns because it really depends on who you ask. A lot of residents who have Illinois American Water, that is their major concern. But there are also residents who do not have American Water. They have well water. So the people that have well water don't exactly have that same Illinois American Water concern. But if we're talking about Illinois American Water, as I've stated many times before, bringing the commerce and Illinois American Water to the table is important. I will not give up on the residents. I mean, I pay the water bill as well. I see it. I know what it's like to be nervous to go to the mailbox to get that bill. So I think the residents who have the water bill, that's their number one concern. The other concern is I think a lot of people see the same thing I mentioned earlier, the divide that's happening in our town. We used to be that town that a lot of people would say, wow, you live in Homer Glen. That's a great community. You guys are like Mayberry. Everybody gets along. Everybody, knows each other, and it's nice and it's quaint. And now I get a lot of phone calls from other towns or friends who used to say that about us. And well, now they'll say, what is happening in your town? Why is there so much fighting? Why is there so much arguing? And a lot of people think one of their concerns is there's too much power in one person's hands. And I kind of want to be that person that helps everybody, dive into what they can do and not just what one specific person can do. So when I said the mayor doesn't necessarily hold all the power, the mayor's kind of the forefront person that takes the hits for the others and tries to, put a vision forward.
What do you see as the biggest challenge for the next mayor of Homer Glen, and how would you address that challenge?
The biggest challenge again is the divide of people. Like I said, we used to be neighborly. We used to be friends, and there's a lot of arguing going on. And I think whoever sits in that seat is going to have a hard time convincing the board to put all their differences aside and work together for the betterment of the community. And I saw that in another question that you had, that what's the goal in the next so many days. But I think that is going to be something that's going to be very challenging for the mayor to do, is to get everyone to work together. But outside that dais, another biggest challenge in Homer Glen again is the water bill. Stopping people from coming in to sell our open spaces or encroaching. We have annexation agreements coming up. We have another issue in our west corridor of Homer Glen. We have an infrastructure issue for sewer. We've got to focus on that and figure out what our game plan is. I mean, that's not too far out. We need to take control of our own destiny. We got to build up 159th Street, bring some businesses in to help with the tax burden. 159th Street is like a blank canvas. We can control what we want to see down there. Or not down there, but on 159. Sorry.
Yeah. That would be up there for me. It depends on where you live in the village.
Depends on where you're at.
Yeah. So that is my next question. What do you hope to accomplish in your first 30 to 60 days in office? And if there's anything additional, or you could just stick with that last answer.
Yeah, well, civility. I mean, that the first 30 days, I think the board itself needs to regroup. We need to, the first 30 days, we as a board, we need to sit down and say, put your sword away. We gotta stop this infighting. And just because you don't agree with somebody, or just because you don't like somebody's opinion, you could still walk away from that table shaking their hand and, compliment each other, or say, hey, let's talk about this more in detail on why. I mean, there's been many times when I was a trustee that I went into a board meeting thinking, this is my answer and this is how it's going and this is what I think. And then I listen to other trustees and I go, wow, I never thought of that, or that's a good point, or, and they changed my mind. There's no real communication with everybody at the dais right now. So my goal is to get, as a mayor, to get the trustees to all work together and listen to each other and take each other's opinion and advice and make the best decisions that they can for the village. So first 30 days, that would be my hope. And speaking to majority of the candidates that are running, I believe that is their goal for the first 30 days too.
What does the word leadership mean to you? And what do you believe are the qualities and attributes of an effective leader?
This one wasn't tough for me, but it's a long-winded answer, so I try to think of how to shorten it up for you. But leadership isn't about control. Leadership is more about putting the people. How do I word this? Leadership's not about control. It's more about putting those in control. So when I went to this one leadership conference once, and the best thing I ever heard anybody say about leadership is never make your people's ceiling, never make your floor their ceiling. Make your ceiling their floor. And so the first time I ever heard that, it just made so much sense to me. I want a leader should be lifting other people up. There's times I'll walk into a meeting and think I've got the best idea that there is, and we're going to run with it, and I'm going to try to sell my mission and my idea. But listening to others, they may have another idea, and a leader will step back and say, you know what, your idea is better, and it is a better direction to head, and let me help you the best way I can, or give me what you need to succeed. Leaderships aren't always about being the one, like I said earlier, in charge. It's helping others feel in charge. A good quality for that is listening. You always have to listen to what everybody says. I always like to be the last person to speak, not because I am afraid or because I don't know the answer. It's because I want to be educated by what other people are saying too. They might have something that I don't know. I don't know everything, and most leaders don't. I mean, if you think of your dentist and you go to the dentist's office, you want to have them continue their education, and that's what leaders should do: is constantly be out there learning, constantly trying to educate others, lifting each other up. Like I said, I have so many answers for this one because it's a passion of mine. You don't argue. Leaders just don't argue. leaders come up with solutions to any problem. Leaders don't walk away from problems, they walk towards problems, and they bring people with them to help. No leader is successful on their own. If you were alone in this world, who are you leading? You're just leading yourself, right? I mean, you need others to make you successful, but you also as a leader want to make others successful. I would love nothing more than to see anybody that I've ever helped rise above me. There's been several moments where I have tried to teach people, or I've taught, I worked for Homer Tree Service, and I taught people how to do jobs, and they surpassed me. And it was a good feeling because I helped them get there. And leaders don't need recognition. Leaders like to recognize others, which is important. Because once you have somebody believing in you, leading is not that hard. Once you lift somebody up, you're putting them on the right path of right direction, and they become a leader of their own. So leaders create other leaders is pretty much what I'm saying. Kind of answered a little bit on the best qualifications for that too. There's no, I think everyone could be a leader. I think who you surround yourself by is big. You know, if you have people around you telling you can't do it all the time, you're going to start thinking you can't do it. But once you surround yourself by people that are telling you can do it, you know, you start believing that you can. So I've always taken a mission upon myself to make sure that others know that they are worthy, that I can do something. And that's very important in leadership.
All right. And then finally, any parting words or final thoughts that we didn't cover?
Well, just if you don't mind, I'd like to just clarify a couple of things, if that's okay with you. So sure. One of the questions that keep coming up is this downtown town center idea. And I could be wrong, but I believe that every candidate likes the downtown idea, town center idea, I should say. I think the difference between us, though, is that our visions may be a little different. I like the little downtown Frankfurt area where there's the grassy area and it's little shops and upscale restaurants and unique restaurants. The other, and I don't know exactly what they want, but that's my vision. But the difference between us that I do know is I feel, as we were talking about leadership earlier, is I'd like to find investors that would like to believe in that vision of a town center and do it on their own. I don't think that it's the responsibility of our taxpayers to provide themselves a downtown area. I think it's our job to convince others that investing in our area is important. I don't think that burden should fall on the taxpayers at all. So that's the one difference. I just don't think spending money to do a study was okay. I think that we should have took the initiative to reach out to other people to see if they can have a vision too in this downtown area. The other thing I wanted to clarify was the part-time police department. I am pro-police. I do think that our police needs more support, but I am not in favor of a part-time police department. The cost of it doesn't matter if it's 1 million or 10 million, it still falls on the taxpayers. If the Will County Sheriff has done so much good for us, they're very supportive of us. They have everything we could ever ask for. I don't know if anybody's ever reached out to them to see how they feel, but I have. And I think there's a lot of confusion on who will handle what or who will do what. And there's a lot of risk for that. Again, the cost is probably my biggest concern. And if we need more police or if we need additional officers, I'm sure that they would be willing to come to the table and amp us up with whatever we needed. Just in case of, something happened with the Safety Act or whatnot. The other thing is the open space. I am a stronghold on our open space. I want to preserve it as long as we can. That's why that makes the open space and the rolling meadows is what makes Homer Glen what it is. I don't want to sell. I'm not for high density housing. I believe that we need something where our empty nesters can go, but I don't think it's necessary to sell our open space.
All
And
right,
if-
Christy. Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to leave something else is, you know, everybody who's running has very similar visions with a lot of things, but we also differ in a lot of things. And I just want to just put out there that every candidate is doing the best they can for the village. I don't think anyone's going out there to hurt the village. And I would just ask that everybody, allow us to do our thing and allow us to get our word out and explain to why we're the better candidate. And I just want to wish everyone the best of luck.
Awesome. Awesome. Christina, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. It has been an absolute pleasure, as always, and I'm sure that all of our residents appreciate it as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kenney. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. So I hope this has been informative and helpful for all of the residents out there. And no matter who you decide to vote for this next election, please, please just get out and vote. Talk to your friends, your family, your neighbors, and encourage them to vote as well. The results of this election will impact the residents and homeowners of Homer Glen for many years to come. And this is your opportunity to have a say in who gets elected. And just remember, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain about it later on Facebook. All right. Have a great day, everyone. And thanks for listening. And thanks again, Christina.
Thank you. Bye, Homer Glen.